So Wolverine, after seeing the death of his friends, Nick Fury, Captain America, Bucky Barnes, and the rest of America with their heroes, he decides to go on a murder spree, enacting his revenge. Now this is AJ at the Hero Informer, and let's get into it. So picking up after the last issue where Wolverine had a bomb in his chest, he was a lucky one to survive, while Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or Bucky, wasn't. Because of this, we now see Logan at a funeral, a private funeral where Captain America's body, or whatever was left of it, and his shield are, as Nick Fury, who was previously thought to be dead, but of course, being Fury who he is, it was a LMD, a life model decoy, and it was the last one he had. So right now he is on his last life, with Fury even coming out basically depressed, thinking that they have lost. America has failed. He goes on to say, they were the best of us and they will be missed. But if I have to be honest, maybe they were the lucky ones to go out so clean, being spared of what's to come. As we see a widespread panel of Wolverine looking over all the bodies and other heroes who have died, alongside of course Captain America with the shield there, really solidifying the fact that right now, Wolverine, a Canadian, might be the only one capable and in the way to save America, which is a little ironic twist of fate. But as Logan, being as determined as ever, goes on to ask Nick Fury, what are you going to do now? Fury isn't like himself. He is almost down in a pathetic type of way, as he goes on to say there really isn't anything to do. We failed. The Empire has fallen, and now, if we're lucky, only a couple 100 million people on this continent are going to die. And how he has seen the horrors of multiple wars. World War I, the Cold War, Vietnam War, and he tells Logan that this next war coming up, he can promise him that this is going to be worse in every way. So what does he plan to do? Well, he is going to find himself a nice bottle of bourbon after crawling into a hole with his best gun. Then, soon enough, he'll see his friends on the other side. Really just showing you how pathetic and down, depressed Fury is, and how hopeless the situation seems. But Fury then goes on to ask Logan, what about you? What are you going to do? And of course, with this series being named Wolverine's Revenge, he has his mind set on one particular thing: vengeance. But moving over 3 entire months later, we then pick up seeing Logan run in the Dakotas, as he is running through the forest looking for something in particular, but he is stopped by another mutant named Dani Moonstar. And if you don't know who she is, well, she is a mutant that basically has the abilities to create psychic illusions. Illusions that feed off her opponent's fear, kind of like in the same vein as Loki's trickster magic. But as they begin to talk, she then tells Logan that, well, he isn't really supposed to be here and he is trespassing. But of course, Logan is determined to meet somebody as he is on a hunt for somebody in particular. So Moonstar then uses her abilities, creating giant bears to try and threaten Logan and deter him off. But Logan then goes on to say that he hears that these demon bears love fear, and they can smell it from a world away. But that isn't his scent. He isn't that type of guy. He doesn't get scared. Logan has lived long enough and been in so many experiences that he doesn't feel fear like that anymore. And instead, it is feeding off the fear of another individual who was in the car. Another mutant by the name of Forge, which, as his name suggests, he has the ability to build, forge, and construct and instantly know any type of machine or technological device in his range. So think of Gray Matter from Ben 10 if you're familiar with him. Super smart, his ability is basically super intelligence, but only when it comes to machinery and devices. And of course, with Logan eventually getting his way, we pick up 2 days later, with him and Forge driving to a nearby desert location, the impact zone where everything went wrong, where Asteroid M crashed. Because as you know in this story, in Elseworld universe, there was an asteroid named Asteroid M that came crashing down to Earth, killing someone in particular, Magneto. And upon his death, he released the biggest EMP known to history, entirely engulfing the world and sending it back into the Dark Age, killing millions upon millions of people worldwide. And because of this, there has been a little cult going around. A group of fanatics who worship Magneto upon his death. But as they continue on their way to the initial site, Forge tries to talk Logan out of this, as he knows the road he is going down isn't a very good one, even for a man like Wolverine, who, while yes is a hero, still has a pretty dark path and dark urges. As Forge goes on to tell him, are you sure I can't talk you out of this? Retribution is a dark path and revenge is a master no man should serve. But Wolverine, knowing who he is, what he can do and his limits, he says, well, this is all I have left. Other mutants, other heroes, the X-Men, the superhero community, the world at large has been disbanded and plunged into an apocalypse. But eventually they are able to make it to the small little crater and the resting place of Magneto himself. And Forge goes in a little more detail about this cult, saying something awful happened, so people believed that it couldn't be avoided and that it was fate, and that the true believers of Magneto was formed and they cleared this place of any remnants of the asteroid M. as they declared it holy trinkets of their mutant prophet of doom. But of course his body is buried deep underground, so Wolverine turns to Forge, who is, as I mentioned before, pretty tech savvy, with Logan saying, "You surely got some kind of high-tech doodad we can dig him out with, right?" And out of everything he could have gave Logan, he gives him a basic normal shovel, for Logan to spend hours digging himself. And he does just that, eventually striking gold in the corpse of Magneto himself. But no, Logan didn't come on this mission just to see closure in what happened. He came for one very specific item, the helmet of Magneto. As you see, it has certain properties that, well, coming up will be very useful for him. So after pulling it off Magneto's decayed skull, he gives it over to Forge, as Forge looks over the helmet, knowing what he must do and must construct, saying a little more shielding, a touch of vibranium for feedback, and yes, he believes he can make it work. And after assumingly he is successful in whatever he was trying to build, we then pick up sometime later, a city that at this point, whose name has been erased, as we see the citizens of said city completely drooling, unresponsive, and mind control, brainwashed, an entire city full of innocent people. And this hooded figure that we are following even says as much, as this figure tracks his way through the city into the high up almost castle top upon the hills. As we see this hooded figure's hands and feet are blue, almost looking like Nightcrawler in a way, but he finally is able to make it inside this structure. And inside, he finally sees the one person he was looking for, evil mutant and villain that goes by the name Mastermind, who is controlling this entire town using his telepathy. So think of a walking Charles Xavier who's using his abilities for evil, completely brainwashing this entire town for his bidding. And who was the one who was directly responsible for the death of Captain America and Bucky Barnes, along with the rest of the remaining SHIELD operations. But as his hooded figure continues to walk in, he then demands to know where the rest of the villains he was working with and where they are. Omega Red, Deadpool, Sabertooth, and even Colossus, who has switched sides and even furthering his own selfish desires. But Mastermind here says no. While I do know where my companions are, I won't be the one giving up my secrets. Instead, I'll be taking all of yours. Because obviously, yeah, why would he just talk? Especially when he has one of the most broken abilities you can have, telepathy. Especially one as strong as this. And it seems like it is over for this hooded figure, as Mastermind starts to break his will and break his mind, shifting through everything hidden inside of his head. And this would have worked on any other lesser being. Maybe not lesser, but any other less prepared being. As this hooded figure then goes to take off his mask, and it is none other than Logan himself, wearing the new upgraded helmet of Magneto, which is completely immune to any type of telepathy, and making this villain, who had one overpowered ability, now completely useless, as without his telepathy, he is nothing more than a middle-aged man. And Logan, being the best he is at what he does, takes this opportunity to enact his revenge, as he lunges for Mastermind, saying it's too late. There isn't anyone here that can save you, popping his claws and getting ready to do the deed, literally severing his head from his body, but freeing and saving this entire town, giving them their individual lives back. And after a short while later, he then brings the severed head of Mastermind back to Forge, for Forge to use his technology and intelligence to shift through his mind to get his memories and the locations of where the other people are. As I've mentioned before, Deadpool, Colossus, Omega Red, and Sabertooth, because those are his main targets who Logan is getting his revenge on, along with doing whatever he can to try to save America and this worldwide EMP. But for Logan, that is all back burner. That is all step 2. Step 1 is his revenge. But Forge is eventually able to work his magic and get in, shifting through his memories and accessing locations through Mastermind's severed head and brain. Able to see the locations of these different characters because Mastermind kept a mental link between all of them, with Colossus being in Russia where you would think he would be, Omega Red not being too far behind, Deadpool showing up in multiple locations, moving between them all because nobody really wanted him around, and last but not least, Sabertooth, Creed. He has made a home in the desert. In this one is personal for Logan as he decides this is his first target. Old business before new business. But before he sets off, he then asks Forge one more thing. A specialized motorcycle, which doesn't sound too crazy but will become very interesting and kind of a stupid and lazy way to push the plot forward a little later. But a week later, we then pick up in the middle of a desert where we see Sabertooth himself, feasting on some type of animal carcass and eating its meat. And with Sabertooth here, just not a care in the world, doing nothing, he then sees a light shine in the distance. And this light, this shine, is very important and interesting and kind of lazy as I said before, so just keep it in your head, as it shines on Sabertooth. And with Logan pulling up, being the 5'3" manlet that he is, Sabertooth towers over him, with Logan going on to start the conversation saying, "I bet you're surprised to see me alive, huh?" But Sabertooth has basically anticipated this, saying it will take a lot more than a bomb in his chest to stop him, so he figured Logan has a chance of doing the same. But what he is surprised about is seeing him here right now, because he thinks Logan is handling this as good as he does any other tragedy. because in the long run, Logan always loses, so he's always looking to get even, and that he holds grudges all the way down. But this excites Sabertooth, as he goes on to say, "I figured you would want to settle most of your grudges before you came up dead, because we both know you can't take me, and any revenge you want, it ends right here, and it ends right now," as they start their bloody and brutal fight. And during this fight, it seems Sabertooth has the complete upper hand, calling him weak but saying that he always has been. But to Sabertooth's downside, he gets cocky, with him literally going on to laugh and say that he could prolong this a bit, savor the experience, kick him while he's down, reminding Logan that he owns him and that he always will, as he literally beats him to a bloody pulp. And while Logan is down, Sabertooth even goes on to say that, "When I'm done here, when I'm done with you, I'm even going to take your ride," which is just more disrespectful than just beating him up. But because Sabertooth had his guard down, Logan gets one good strike in, stabbing him clean in the stomach with his adamantium claws, plunging it into his guts. And of course, Sabertooth having a pretty good healing factor, usually this wouldn't be that bad. This would be just a little pain, but he heals right up. But something has changed, something is different now. As it turns out, he isn't healing. And Logan then starts to make everything abundantly clear, because even though he came on a fancy new ride, the bike was specially built by Forge with a neutralizer inside of the headlamp, neutralizing his mutant abilities, his healing factor. So while Logan is healing up just fine, Sabertooth is bleeding out, slowly dying, instantly turning the tides in his fight into Logan's favor. Which, I mean, even though it's cool to see Logan win, this is just kind of a lazy way, just randomly off-screen showing Forge building a mutant dampening motorcycle lamp. Like, that is just a crazy concept, but here it is and we see it actually work. But of course, Sabertooth having no fear and his pride too high to admit defeat and the possibility of losing to Logan, they start their battle up once more, as Logan takes another swipe through his leg and stomach. And where will this go, and what will Logan do after presumably killing Sabertooth? We don't know yet, as this issue and this video comes to a close. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, or even subscribe if you're new and like this type of content. As always, this is the Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.